everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Points of Articulation. My name's Dave, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. Today I'm looking at the Hot Wheels Star Wars San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Dagobah X-Wing, released in 2020. This vessel we're going to look at today was first seen in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, but the variant inside of this box was first seen in Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and I can't believe it's 40 years old. Holy shamoly. But regardless, the size of the model that comes in here is about 3 inches long. So first up, let's look at the box. We have Star Wars Hot Wheels 40th Anniversary logo, Mattel. And basically each side is the same thing for the most part. Just all logos and copyright crap. This box actually acts as a protective case for your actual item. So it's pretty cool. And on the bottom, it's just a ton of copyright crap. China. So anyway, let me get this open for everybody. And we'll start looking at the actual item. Now, I already opened this about, I would say, 3 or 4 times just to make sure everything's good. And I opened everything up with a razor. So that's how that is, you know, because I'm going to keep this displayed in the box probably. So I have to retape everything up after the review. But on the whole, I'm very happy with this item. So here we have our actual piece. We have the 40th Anniversary logo, which is mirrored. Looks awesome, Mattel on the bottom. And then we have our actual display. And we're going to talk about this in a minute. But just look at all the trees and ferns, grass and mud. We have Yoda, R2-D2, and Luke Skywalker watching our scene here. That is fantastic. Turning the box around, we have a quote from Yoda right there. Do or do not, there is no try. Excellent, more trees and whatnot. And on the back, we have a nice write-up, and I'll show that right now. And here's a close-up on the back. If you would like to pause the video and take a moment to read it, go right ahead and continue when you're done. Moving on from there, we have our logos, more mirrored 40th anniversary, beautiful artwork. Actually, that's just a photo from the movie. You guys know what I mean, it's all art. Then we have copyright crap, our little lever here, so that way we can make the ship do its thing, and more trees. Excellent stuff. Now, looking in here, we can see a plastic piece which has, you know, grays and blues and blacks. We have some greens and browns as well to simulate all the muck and mud and grass that's growing. And then we have our item, the Dagobah X-Wing. For those who don't know, Luke Skywalker goes to Dagobah and basically crashes into the swamp and he can't get out. And that's when he meets Yoda. And Yoda shows him that if you put your mind to it, you can raise that X-Wing up. And look at the background there, all the flying creatures. There's one over here as well by my finger. Great stuff. So, let me move this lever and you'll see Yoda raise that X-Wing. Alright, so now I have the camera set up. Let me do the lever and we'll see what happens. Very nice. I think that looks cool. And to some, you know, maybe they'll think it's cheap or whatever. But it was a great idea, and I think it works. And then you could also lower it down back into the water. And it's pretty cool. I do like it quite a bit. Let's get another angle of it, shall we? Looking at it from the side, I'll slide the button, and you can see how it just raises up there. And it's really cool, because it has like a rotating feature. Pretty sick. I do like that quite a bit. So now, let me open this bad boy up, we'll look at the X-Wing, and see what we really get in this set. Now, trying to get this thing open is easier said than done. Obviously, it's not meant to be opened, it's not meant to be played with, which I guess some people might be a little upset with, but the thing that I was taken back about was you don't get a stand. What you see is what you get, and after I took it apart, which was very tedious because I didn't want to destroy the package, the X-Wing itself is screwed on with a custom stand so it works with the gimmick inside of the package. So I had to get a Phillips head screwdriver and basically take it apart. But once you do that, everything is so designed for the package itself that the screw extends out of the X-Wing. And if you took that screw out, that's the only thing holding the ship together, so it just falls apart. and we'll see that later in the video. And this is very interesting. I thought I would share it with all of you because a lot of you comment, oh, I can't wait to have this next to all my other ships, and it really doesn't work like that unless you're going to mod the ship. But we'll talk about that later once I talk about the stand section of the review. So having said all that, let's take a look at the ship. So let's kick this review off looking at the mold of this particular ship. Just like in all my videos, I'll go over all the major sections of the item, and then we'll get a nice close-up look to see those fine details. So for the main parts, we have our laser cannons on the sides. As you can see, they are a little warped, but what are you going to do? It's the nature of the beast with these things. Then we have our wings, looking good. Our engines, which are nicely recessed and painted. Look at that. It's about time. Then we have our thrusters in the back. S-foil mechanism right here, painted. Very nice. S-foils in the center. Astromech droid. Canopy for the cockpit. Nose cone on the sides, right about here. Should be torpedo launchers, but of course there's no recess. And on the bottom, beautiful detailing, copyright crap. 2 rivets holding it together. No peg port for the stand. And a screw that protrudes out. Now, if you got extra screws lying around, I'm sure you could get one that fits better and just mod this so you could have a normal stand. Because I'll talk about it later. The stands could actually fit in there, and it does hold it up if you set it up correctly. So that's pretty neat. But anywho, that's everything for the mold and the parts of this ship. So now let's get a closer look to see what it really has to offer. Now, having a closer look, there's really not much to say. I've looked at this particular ship about 30 different times already, and there's nothing new. But it is nicely done for what it is. You can see there is no peg port there at all, and the screw does come out, which is kind of weird. It's designed to fit the actual stand for the box, so if you could get a smaller screw, it will hold in, but because there is a gap there and you can't get it any tight because you have the gap for this, that makes this piece right here very loose, so that's a shame. But if you have the money to buy 2 of these, nothing's stopping you from customizing it, that's for sure. But anyway, moving past the cargo area, we have our S-foils, which looks very nice. Came out pretty good, and I love the paint, even though it's a little off there. Not bad. For the rest of the wings and engine section, we have our rivets on both sides. Copyright crap. Nice paint. The molding is pretty good here. I like it quite a bit. It would have been great if the landing gear was down. That would have made it even more special, but I guess we're lucky we even got this. Now for the laser cannon, sort of blah right here. All the detailing's on the other side. But really nice. You can see all the raised sections here. Looking good. Nice. And for this side, it's basically the same. Like I said, there's no surprises here. We've seen it tons of times before on the channel. I like that area quite a bit. Then we have our barrels, looking good. Very nice. And I do like the paint on here, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty cool. Then we have all our molding coming up to the engine again, which is really cool. Sort of hard to see the detail through that paint, but it is there, like you can see my fingerprints. I don't know, to me anyway, because of the streaks, makes it look like it's blurry, but it's not. Pretty weird. You can see our astromech barely right here above my finger, the dome, the S-foil mechanisms, everything's there that should be. The engines look great. Very nice. We have some detailing on the wing. Looking good. You can see the paint's actually filling some of those squares. Very interesting. Then we have our laser cannon again, which is nicely done. Now what I really love about the engines are, look, they're recessed in and painted for a change. Great stuff. It's about time that happened. And then coming down the main body side, we can see our canopy. Looking good, very glossy black paint. Excellent. You can see how it's falling apart here because the screw's not holding it in with the stand. Ugh, shame. Then we have our nose cone. Looking good. A little recess in the tip of that nose cone. You see a little green and brown mixed in with that black as well. Very nice. Tons of colors on here. Very nice. And finally, look at the intakes to the engine. Fantastic stuff. That came out great, and it's painted well. Half the time, they're never painted at all. Sweet. And that does it for the mold. Hopefully I covered everything. You know, this is probably the third X-Wing with closed wings I reviewed on the channel for Hot Wheels. And they're all the same. There's no differences. But one thing that is different, besides the peg part on the bottom, is the excellent paint job on here. So let's look at that next. And now looking at that paint on the Hot Wheels Star Wars SDCC exclusive Dagobah X-Wing. This ship has about 12 to 11 different colors depending on how you count them. And all I could say is, it's about time we have a ship made from Hot Wheels which has a lot of color on it. Too bad we have to pay an arm and a leg to get it. So let's get started. The main color on here is a nice light tan. Looks pretty good for what it is. We've seen it before and it works. Very nice. Now next we have a couple colors. We got red, yellow, blue, and grayish blue. And that's scattered all throughout. You can see the blue on the laser cannons, the red on the call sign and the stripes, yellow here and there. And then we have that grayish blue for this box right here. And a canopy on the cockpit, which looks pretty good. And you can see the blue on the bottom as well. Very nice. And the red. Looking sharp. Now moving on from there, we do have some dark gray and black. And the dark grays on the engine intakes, as well as black in the recessed, which looks great. In the back, we also have black for the thrusters, gray for the S-foils, which is very nice. The paint's a little bit off in there, but not too bad. And on the bottom, we do have a little gray here and here, which is a little different than this gray. So pretty sharp. Moving on from there, we have, you know, it's in between a light brown or a dark tan, so we're just going to go with an orangey brown. And that acts as a wash, and it covers everything. You can see it on the laser cannon, the wings, the main body, the engines, and it's even on the top here. And I love it. It attaches to the detail and makes it something different, and that's sick. And also, to bring up the black again, we do have some black streaks going down the ship. Black mixed in with this muck, the seaweed or swamp grass, whatever you want to call it. And we also have black in the front, which has a nice texture there. Well, not texture, but look to it. Battle scarring or something. Very nice. I like that quite a bit. I guess it's when Luke smashes into the water. This sort of goes in the mud, and that's what it is. Pretty nice attention to detail there. Very cool. Moving on from there, we do have glossy black for the windows of the cockpit on the canopy, which looks great. And then moving on from there, we do have dark green and light green for all the swamp grass, which looks amazing. From a distance, it actually looks like it's hanging over, like it has the imitation of seaweed hanging. And that's pretty cool. When you get up close, which I'll show in a few, you can see that it is a little blurry, and it really works from a distance. It really does. From the other side, you can see again, sort of like spaghetti. Really cool. And on the sides, there's nothing really there. So let's get a close-up real quick before we move on. Now you can see, having a closer look, that from a distance, it's just tiny dots all over here, which looks kind of neat, almost like a camo. And you can see the different greens working together there. Pretty interesting, especially on the wings and the laser cannons. It's almost like 3D printed in a way. It has that like grainy look to it. Pretty weird. And then when we pull back, all those little dots conjoin and it just looks like grass and debris just hanging off of it. And that's pretty sick. So that does it for the mold as well as the paint. So now let's try and put this back on a stand, compare it to some other vessels, and then we'll be done. Now, unlike most Hot Wheels vessels, this particular ship does not come with a stand, at least not one that we're used to. As you saw when I was undoing it, this has a square peg right here, and I will assemble this later on, but the square peg goes in that slot right there, and then the screw goes through this hole right here and holds the whole thing together in a display box. However, if you do have a normal stand or a finger flight stand, it can fit in the port. You're not going to hear a snap or anything because it's, it's loose. You can just pull it out. But the screw will rest on the back here. And just like that, everybody, you are good to go. And it actually holds pretty tight. See, it's not even rocking or rolling or anything. So pretty cool. And now for a size comparison with the Hot Wheels Star Wars SDCC exclusive Dagobah X-Wing, seen in the center. First up on the right hand side, we have the TIE Dagger, which is a very unique vessel. I like it quite a bit. And then on the left hand side, we have Biggs's Red 3. And as you can tell, these are the exact same mold. And for an added bonus size comparison with the Dagobah X-Wing, seen on the left hand side, on the right we have Luke Skywalker's Snowspeeder. All in all, some great looking vessels we've seen today, and if you're interested in seeing reviews of any of them, check the links in the description below. Now, to get the screw out, you're going to need a Phillips head, so let me just get it in there. I thought about putting it back on a stand off camera, like when I took it apart, but you know what, why not do it live? As you can see, it just comes apart. Not a real fan of that, but what are you going to do? So anyway, get all your pieces, put them back together. Take your stand, and just like I said, push that square in. It's going to feel a little slightly snug, but that's okay because you don't want this thing moving in your display box. Take your screw, sort of stick it in there, and then get your Phillips head. You're going to need a small one for this, and just start tightening it up. Any day now. Have to say, even though it doesn't really have a stand, I am pretty happy with it. It's a con exclusive. They made it special. Even though technically I'm kind of mad because this is the 4th new ship we got this year in 2020, and it's a repaint. What are you going to do? But regardless, if it doesn't fit on the stand, you can definitely get it back onto its original stand to go back in the box. And that's pretty decent. So here's all the components we have to build this little diorama. Now this comes assembled like we've seen. I had to take it apart. So this piece here, for anybody who's interested, is just colored, white, gray, and blue, and some green, browns, and blacks for the swamp. Pretty nice. It has an outline of our ship. And the other side, it's just hollow. Pretty cheap, actually. But if you take this apart and you go to put it back, make sure everything lines up. I just did this after 2 times testing it, and I messed it up and did it backwards. I had to do it all over again. Now, my goal with this, let me move the ship out of the way, is to not destroy or rip the box, which is why everything is sort of, trying to be organized here. I don't want to destroy this because I'm going to actually display it in the box itself. So let's try and get this in there. Oh, nice. So now here comes the little tedious part. Folding everything up so that way it nicely goes back together. There we go. That's one side. This is already in. Then we'll take this piece, stick it in there. And yeah, it has like tape that I cut with a razor to open this. But I could just replace that with different tape later on. So now take your ship, place it in like so. Now the whole gimmick here is that it rotates. So there is, it's hard to see, but there is like this little curve that swirls like a DNA strand. So you're going to want to get this in here. Oops. See, I did it backwards there. Yeah, like this. And then it's going to rotate. And that's when you snap it into the peg port. Of course, it's not going to... There we go. You hear that snap and you're good to go. You know I had to get that in there sooner or later. But you close this back up. And there you go. It's together and it functions pretty sick. And that does it today for my review of the Hot Wheels Star Wars San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Dagobah X-Wing, released in 2020. Now what we have here is a mixed bag. On one hand, we have a beautiful looking miniature, a great display piece, and this piece right here captures one of the most memorable, one of the most loved scenes in the original trilogy in toy form, and it's brilliant. In my opinion, it looks great. As we can see right here through my camera, the scene just comes to life. We have Yoda, R2, Luke, the X-Wing, and then the background there with all the flying creatures and the rest of the swamp. Beautiful. On the other hand, however, you have a ship that doesn't have a peg port, and basically, to get it to go with the rest of your ships, you're going to have to mod it a little bit. And I could see why some people might be upset about that. It is what it is. Actually, I'm a little upset, but the thing is, I'm going to display this as is in the box. So I'm really not too messed up about it. Plus, I have like 3 other X-Wings that look just like this with lesser paint. For the mold, like I just mentioned, it's the same exact X-Wing we've seen tons of times before. There's no differences, except there is no peg port on the bottom of this bad boy. Now moving on to the paint, it is very nicely done. I'm just going to come out and say it. I love the look of this vessel. I think it's clean, it's nice, beautiful stuff. I love how they painted the recesses black. We got the browns, the reds, yellows, blues. Everything's working together to really bring this to life. And what they did was they captured the look of the craft in the film at this particular scene, and it works. Now, like I mentioned, you do not get a stand with this. My recommendation, keep it in the box. It's hard and tedious to get out, and it just looks good in the box. It really does. So that's everything I have to say about this awesome looking set today. I really hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, smash that like button. And if you'd like to see new reviews every Thursday, subscribe. Again, everybody out there, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my content. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.